I'd like to represent our next speaker, Steffen Groening from Beta Dwarf Studio, and he will tell us about their success, their postmortem story, about being successful at Kickstarter with their game Dwarf. Yeah?
Forced.
Dwarf
Forced.
Forced.
This is just a company name.
Let's welcome him.
Okay. Hope you can hear me, that I don't have to get bottlenecked here. Okay, so I'm Steffen Kabbelgaard GRØNNING, and I'm the CEO of Beta Dwarf, and this talk is about Kickstarter. And the purpose of this talk is to give you a broad view of how our experience with the whole process was. So it's both before and after, and during the whole crazy stuff of the campaign. So yeah, we're just gonna dive into how we managed to do that and how poor we were during the hard times. So first of all, just a short glimpse of what Forced, or what the game that we actually made a Kickstarter for, was. And it's hard to sort of explain in a short video, but you can see it's top-down view, and it looks a little bit like Diablo, but it has this funny gimmick with a cooperative mechanic with a little orb that you call around and control together. But you can check it out afterwards out there. But now you just have an idea. Yeah, this is the team. It was founded 2 years ago by me and a partner called Kenneth Harder, and we are developing Forced and have been doing that ever since. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good. And during that whole process, we've been 30 people developing on the game, but now we are 12. So a lot of people has joined in and worked for a year or half a year and just contributed a lot. And that's basically the way we have approached making a slightly ambitious game. And it's located in Copenhagen, Denmark. So now you also know the team. So our situation before we launched the Kickstarter was that we needed a lot, or not a lot of money, but just some to survive, because we were basically living together in this house, so we just had to pay rent and buy gear and licenses and things like that, food, pizza, and yeah, joyrides. And then we needed publicity, maybe more than anything else, and a community to test our game, because it needed a lot of balancing and so on. And that's sort of the things that you should relate to why you would need a Kickstarter, because a big part of getting a successful Kickstarter is getting the community as well and utilizing that afterwards. So our sort of only bonus before we headed into this was that we have an interesting story. We were kind of like these crazy indies living in a house isolated from the whole society, and a lot of us looked really funny. Not me, but the other guys looked really weird, and we used that. And we had no track record, and if you've been in looking at Kickstarter projects, you'll see a lot of people flashing all their games, and they've all made a ton of AAA titles, and that usually is a good thing, because people start to believe you, but we had none of that. Maybe a little, but not really. And we were not used to making PR, so we also had to learn that by ourselves. So that was our big disadvantages. So this is the Kickstarter campaign arrow, and this will lead us through the process. So we started out by preparing, obviously, and that probably took most of the time. We spent 2 months or something like that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my slides are fucking a little up, but first of all, there's a lot of people who has asked, how do you get on Kickstarter when you're from Denmark or not in USA or UK? And that's basically based on getting a friend, or a friend of a friend, or someone you trust, because they basically have to get all your money on their account and then transfer it to you. So it's kind of nice if you have a slight trust in them, because it can be a lot of money. But that's basically the short answer. Find a friend there and make them sign a contract. And if they have a company, it's a huge bonus as well, but it should be possible without them having a company. But you can write me a mail or whatever if you have a question about that afterwards. So then we really started researching, and everybody does that, and you can Google a lot of Kickstarter research at Gamasutra and everywhere else on the web, and we did that obviously, but we also did a lot of the sort of state-of-the-art, what are the Kickstarter campaigns doing right now. This was a Kickstarter campaign that went down in November last year, and it took a month. So we looked at things that were up at that time. And we looked at big scope games, like a lot of millions, and lesser scopes that were like our scope. Yeah, we spent a lot of time and tendencies that we sort of found was that a lot of people are using early birds, which are just discounted prices. Like, for example, you get the game for $15, but then there's early birds of 500 units that you can get for $12 or whatever. And that's typically a good way to get the first comers to actually buy in. And then the typical dominant tiers for games are $15 to $25. If you're in that league, you should. What we did really successfully, I think, and which was not our own invention, but what we sort of analyzed us through to from the other campaigns, was that if you include sort of a beta sign up in the $25 tier, people that really wants to connect to your game as soon as possible will do that. So for them it's okay to pay double the price for your game just to get through the beta. And people are still doing that on our website because we are having PayPal up. So actually the game is going to cost $15, but people are paying $30 just to be part of the beta now. Then you should obviously limit physical products, because that is extremely expensive to send around to all the crazy Canadians and Australians and so on, especially if you're in Denmark. For example, our tier for physical products was $120 or above to get anything physical. And be careful with the humor, because we saw a lot of weird projects that get sort of nasty comments based on, you know, national humor that's not really global related or whatever. And yeah, be careful about that. So then we started actually producing stuff for the Kickstarter, and you have to sort of come up with a visual style, and this is especially important if you have no track record, because then you have to sort of show that you're able to at least make a layout that could also be a layout in a game and so on. So it sort of needs to be in the same quality that your game graphics and so on. So people can relate to you actually managing to pull this off. And obviously it should also pitch the game. So you should write all the cool features down there and avoid maybe making a block of text. And this is probably stating the obvious, but it's still reasonable, because we had a lot of problems with this and cramming it all down. Then there's the video, and I simply can't comment on that, because we looked at so many different videos and it was extremely impossible to tell what worked or did not work, because then we saw videos that was extremely lame, but they pulled it off in some other way. So it's really about having your own style and then maybe just appear confident on it, and obviously include the game in it as much as you can, especially if you have no track record. Yes, and then there's a lot of work that you don't consider maybe before you venture in the idea to actually make a Kickstarter. You have to prepare a ton of banners for all your sites, and pimp up your Facebook, your YouTube, your Greenlight, your whatever own sites you have, and all the other places you are. And it takes some time, especially if you're a small group. Now we were 12 people, so we dedicated 3 or 5 people to do this all the time. But yeah, consider it if you're a 2-man group, and try to make something that works out. Use the same banner all over the place or something like that. And then more preparing, and I wanted to have this point there as well, because you get tons of feedback from everyone. Suddenly your mom is interested in commenting on everything you do, and it's a weird relationship you suddenly get with your mom, because yeah, everything is so transparent in the Kickstarter, because the number is up there in the right corner and they can see how many pledges you have all the time. So yeah, immense amounts of feedback, and we spent 2 weeks or something just after the video and the Kickstarter page was done, simply iterating on it and adjusting things and making the communication more transparent so people understand what they get when they pledge this and this. Yes, so before the launch we gathered a ton of mail addresses from press, around 100, and then we identified the key audiences, for example RPG forums and and a co-op side, because our game is co-op heavy, so things that sort of related to the type of game that we had, and we sent out personal mails for them. And we also prepared personal Facebook messages, which is actually a little lame, but it really gave a lot. So you prepare these 5 or 6 lines of texts, and then you prepare 2 lines of personal text to each of your friends, which seems like you actually care about them. And then you send that out to all your friends. And then we launched. And we had a cool start. We were selected to be among the, I think it's called the crowd pick. Crew choice, something like that. Staff choice, I think. And that gave a lot of traffic, because then we were featured on the front page of Kickstarter in 2 days or something. So we got our 25% of funding in 4 days. And then we used basically our Facebook friends, and we did a lot of national and also international press, but the international press didn't really pick it that much up. That was only later, but I'll come to that. But this was basically what gave us the good start, which was fine, and we were happy, and we were almost celebrating. But then we discovered that it was not a linear curve. It was not. And then we became obviously very worried, because there was a heavy decline in backers and traffic to our page, and we had no clue what to do there. So we had a lot of plans, but we started to reorganize them and made attempts every day to come up with a plan for getting more traffic each day. And this is just a quick look of how it looked. So we found some special things that we wanted to do. For example, live streaming, additional efforts with press release and crowd marketing, and social media like Reddit, which I'll all come into, and basically just spread out the news however we could. So first of all, the live streaming was an idea we got when we were laid up one day, and we thought, why not live stream the whole period? So that was the remaining 30 days. So we set up a camera, and basically you could hook in and tune into our office every day you wanted. And we thought that was totally awesome and unique, and for some it was, but it was mostly the evangelists that enjoyed that. So we got a lot of hardcore users based on that, and there was one of the pictures there, and I have this small video where I'm pouring up some coffee, and some random guy is tuning in and checking that out. And it was actually an accident, so it was not intentional, and I slipped and so on. And people really enjoyed that, and it was put out in the press, in Danish news, and so on. So that was a weird and lame way to get more traffic. Then we made a lot of press releases, and don't do personal press releases only to 10 or 20 people or something, and only use that for your key audiences, because it's a waste of time. We did that for 80 sites, personal, and it took a man week, and I cried afterwards. It was definitely not worth the time. Just send out a standard one to 80 mail addresses or whatever. Yes. We basically made 3 press releases during the whole period of 40 days, and I think that was fine. Then we did crowd marketing, which is basically that people could tune into this channel, get their own link, and then promote our site, and that I would not recommend either, but we tried it out because people started spamming all over the place, and suddenly Force was this, oh, it's the game that you are spamming all over the place. And then 4chan was sort of not that fond of us, and you shouldn't sort of be unpopular there. So we ripped that site down again. And then we used social media, which was really awesome. We used Reddit a lot, but you get banned there after some time because you can't do marketing there, but as soon as you're on the front page there, you start getting pledges every second almost. So we did that 3 times or something. It's really powerful, yeah. Definitely hard to handle because you get banned and there's a lot of whining, and you have to be fun there. So you also have to spend time on making a nice picture or whatever. And then we became really desperate, and my mom started calling, everybody's mom started calling, because there was this number up in the corner that people could follow, and are you going to make it, and so on. So yeah, it was a hard time, and people was depressed, and there was decrease in productivity, and but then we had each other, and that was basically what saved us, I think. We started boosting backer rewards, and that was nice, and spammed Facebook a little bit, and last 10 days we did daily updates. So that are some of the things that you can use if you get desperate like us. And then this is what the presentation is mostly about. It's this big picture that kind of saved us, that we made 4 days before the game the Kickstarter campaign was done. And it's sort of just a story of how we've been working with the game for 2 years and what we're doing, and we have a few days left, and we spread that on Imgur, and it was seen by 500,000 people during 3 days or something, and that saved our Kickstarter in 1 day basically. So that was kind of lucky, but I think it's just about doing a lot of stuff all the time, and one of them will pick up probably. And it was also featured in national TV and in the news there and so on. So it obviously made a lot of traffic, and baggers started spreading it. So that was nice, obviously. And then it ended, and we were exhausted, but we were also relieved. And yeah, totally, you're just so fatigued afterwards. So you probably should plan 2 days off or something like that. Also, we had a 40-hour stream event or something at the last day. So yeah, so that was a nice thing to feel. And the team was the whole moral was obviously boosted a ton. So afterwards. Which is now, because it's 3 months ago or something like that. We are collecting the gold. It took 3 weeks or something to get that. And some of them are actually not paying, so you should also expect that. Low degree of non-backers. And then there's a lot of community management you should also plan for. And we do some weekly updates to actually take care of that. And you've seen Kickstarter projects do that. They are really transparent about it. Respond rapidly. And whenever people have something to talk with you about. And there's probably not time to go into this, but this is just a problem with, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, because there's no more time, right? Yeah, so that was last of it, and I think we have a little time for questions. Yeah.
Some questions?
Just a quick question. You mentioned to expect non-payments for backers. About what percentage of people backing up did you get?
2%, I think. We had one big backer who was a troll, but I don't think other Kickstarters experienced that. I've talked with some other friends. You get some Kickstarter friends when you start doing that, and they said that he had about maybe 2-3% or something. Who are not, it's basically that if their credit card doesn't hold the money, it's not charged, and Kickstarter tries to do it 7 days or something like that, and if it doesn't succeed, you're not going to get the money.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, just one question. Would you do it again for the money, or just for the backers and the users you get through the campaign?
Both.
So it sounds like $40,000 are not much money for the stress you had with the campaign.
No, that's also the point about track record. I think we sort of scoped what we wanted to have quite well, and we shouldn't have expected that much more. But if we had a track record and we had a bigger community starting out, then we would have expected more. And I think it's a good way to both build a community and also involve the users. So yeah, I think we would do it again. Also because you accumulate that much knowledge about doing it, so you're not that much afraid of it anymore. But then again, it's getting really crowded in there. So, yeah, I would do it again.
Questions?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, okay. It's a small little issue with you sort of have your PayPal account up there while you have your Kickstarter. You see that on a lot of sites, and then you have your PayPal customers there that are not sort of included in the Kickstarter backers, but they are still your backers, and that becomes a problem when you have to update them, because then you have to make your own mailing list while at the same time you have to spam the Kickstarter updates. And then you're sort of ending out spamming both the Kickstarters and your Kickstarters who are combined with the PayPal users, which is a big issue that I think that Kickstarter should solve. But I'm just stating a problem that we have not solved.
Okay. Thank you for your lecture.
Yeah.